The ingredients for the sweet potato and pak choi, what we have is about 200 grams of fresh hake that's been filleted, the scales removed and bones removed. Your fishmonger will do this for you. I have 450 grams of sweet potato. You could leave the skin on if it's well washed. I've peeled it in this case and cut it into a medium smallish dice. Then I have about 200 grams of pak choi. This is just one full pak choi. You don't have to be too accurate with this. Or if you'd like to use just more greens, it's completely up to you. Don't feel too restricted. Actually, with most recipes, they should be treated more as a guideline. I have the juice and the zest of one lime. And then I have 200 grams of mixed seeds. In this case, I think there's chia seeds, pumpkin seed, sunflower seeds, and probably flax seeds in there as well. Again, you can buy these mixed packets. You don't have to be too picky. Even one type of seed on its own would be absolutely fine. And then I have just a little bit of salt and a little bit of olive oil just for the cookery process and for seasoning. First, I'm going to preheat my pan and I'm going to add just a little bit of water. It's about 50 to 100 milliliters. You don't have to be too picky with this. It's just that I prefer to try use poaching and steaming where possible as well. It's much more sympathetic to nutrients and the food and gives a lovely finish, and it's get away from the old frying and the oily kind of techniques as well. So I'm going to add my sweet potatoes in there and just let that come to a good high heat. Also at this stage, I'm just going to put a pinch of salt, not much, just a little pinch, and I'm going to place a good tight fitting lid onto that and allow the sweet potatoes to cook for about somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. If your pan becomes a little bit dry as it's cooking, just add a little splash more water. Again, avoiding the oil a little bit at this point, although we will finish with a little bit of olive oil. When your sweet potato just becomes tender, but not falling apart, just nice kind of, with a little bit of bite into it. At this stage, I'm going to add all the other ingredients. I'm going to place in the fish and the pak choi. And again, I'm going to place another little bit of water into the pan and allow everything then to steam again. And again, if your pan starts to go dry, just keep adding little bits of water as you're going. When you've added a little drop of water extra, some pak choi and the fish, just place the lid back on and allow it to cook for again another about 7 minutes. But keeping an eye on it that the pan doesn't run dry with water. You don't want to swamp it or boil this. This is more of steaming what you're doing here. After about 5 to 7 minutes of cooking, just keeping a close eye on your pan just to make sure it doesn't dry. Then you can just turn off the heat. Just to give you a little look. As you can see, all of the veg is cooking nicely. The sweet potatoes are tender and the fish is just cooking in a nice light heat, because it's always best to cook fish at lower temperatures because, again, those really important omega-3 fatty acids that you find in fish are quite heat sensitive. So using steaming or boiling or poaching type methods is very, very good for those type of nutrients. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the lid back on. I'm just going to put a little drop more water, but not much, just so my pan doesn't run dry. Bring it back up to a good heat. And then, when it comes up to a nice cooking temperature, I'm going to actually turn the pan off completely on the heat, but don't remove the lid from the pan. And I'm just going to let it rest there for about 5 to 7 minutes. And that residual heat in the pan is just going to cook the fish through and make sure everything is cooked just nicely. But whatever you do now, once you turn off the heat at this point, don't take the lid off again for about 5 to 7 minutes. So that's that turned off. And just let it stand and rest there and let the heat that's already stored in the pan finish the cookery. Having waited about 5 minutes, I'm just going to remove the pan again. And the fish, by checking it, it should be just nicely flaking apart, as you can see. And that is perfectly cooked. And now to finish, I'm just going to simply place the lime juice around the whole dish with the zest. Kind of mix it around a little bit. And I'm going to put a little drop of olive oil, not too much, but I do like to use the olive oil. It's got a lot of advantages, especially when it's just placed on at the last minute like this. I'm just going to put the lid back on. I'm just going to bring it up to a warm heat, just at the very last second, just to allow the lime and the olive oil just to infuse back through the fish. Literally 30 seconds will be enough for this. You can just check your seasoning at this point. And if you need a little drop of extra salt, just give a light sprinkling. And that's really all you need, because the juices from the fish have infused into the sweet potatoes. You have your Bok Choi, and you have a complete, very, very healthy meal. To plate this meal, I'm just going to take some of the sweet potatoes just onto the plate, nice and neatly. Getting those nice juices that are with the fish as well. You have two nice little portions here. Some of the Bok Choi. A nice piece of the fish. And then finally, some of the juice that was used for the cookery. Might be better to use a spoon for this, but hey, it's not the end of the world. And then finally give a nice generous sprinkling of the seeds that we put aside. Now you could lightly toast these seeds or just eat them as I had, as is. And that's it. A simple hake with Bok Choi.